Hey, today I wanted to show you what I'm doing with regards to our riparian area. Okay, and a riparian area is just an area that's along a stream or a river or a wetland. Something that basically differentiates, or it's kind of the transition area between water and land. Okay, that's kind of a riparian area, and it's good to protect that area. And riparian areas is also a subsection of agroforestry. And I want to show you kind of what I'm doing today, but let me first show you what I mean by our riparian area. Okay, so behind me is this little stream that is a seasonal flow, and it only runs on our property through, sometimes it'll run into say mid-June or so, and then it'll dry up. Okay, but and what we've done is when we first moved onto this property, this area, basically low area where water runs, it's runoff, it's melt, it's fed by like a seasonal weeps. You know, it's not a full-blown spring or anything like that. But what it did is when we first moved here, it ran off the property, and then it was done, right? So, you know, by mid-June or early June, it was done. Well, what we've done, the first phase of this building a riparian area is making ponds. Okay, so for example, behind me is it's our lower pond there, and again, these are all small ponds, and then you see, okay, so we've got behind me, you can see the little stream, and obviously we're on sloped land, and there's another little pond there, a small dam wall, and then up further, let's see, right there is another dam wall and another small pond up there. So there's a series of 3 and another little silt pond, so really 4 ponds that go along this riparian area. But what we need to do is establish that riparian area, because right now, when we first moved out here, it was just basically kind of, you know, pasture to pasture with a little seasonal flow that would go through it. Well, I want to establish a riparian area. Okay, so that transition zone between the land where we run animals and the water, the seasonal stream and the ponds. And one of the best things that you can do to establish or repair or restore riparian areas is to get shade onto all your structures, or onto the ponds and onto the streams. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you what we're doing, and I'm just doing a little small section here, but I want to show you how we're going to do that. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is basically the species that we're going to plant today to establish the riparian area. And for today, it's Mackenzie Willow. Okay, so it's a type of willow. It grows obviously well in very moist areas along streams. You know, it's commonly used to restore stream banks, establish and restore riparian areas, etc. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plant this along on this one section here. Okay, you can see where it's you know, a little bit drier out here, and then it's really green through in there, and that's obviously where the little stream flow is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plant this Mackenzie Willow about every 5 or 6 feet along there, along the way up. Okay, now I did do a video on propagating willow. It's pretty simple, but let me just show you here real quick. And so I basically took cuttings and then grew them out, and you can see, you can see all the root structures there. Okay, and that's what they kind of all look like, just like that. So what I'm going to do now, instead of potting these up and letting them go, I'm just going to dig some holes and put them in the ground along there. All right, so I'll show you that next. Okay, one last thing before we get started is that the orientation of the plantings. I'm going to plant these willow on the south side. Now, even if I planted it on the north side, and as it grew, it would still provide some shade, but not nearly as effectively, obviously. So I'm going to make sure that I'm planting this just along the south side. Now today it's just Mackenzie Willow. I will eventually be adding elderberry and some other species to this as well. And one of my hopes is that these small ponds in these areas attract amphibians. And so we can increase the number of amphibians that we have out here. Now we do have some, not a lot, and I think the ducks keep them cleaned out. But when we first moved here, there was none. And then after we established ponds, in a couple years, we could start to hear frogs and that kind of thing. All right, so let's get started. There we go. No fuss, no muss. I just dug down a little bit, and pushed them in. Oh, gotta fix this guy. But they should hopefully do okay. Like I said, I got them in real close and tight to the water.